Hello, this is Gerald Joveras. Although we're not at all aware of that, letters in words really uses references that are related with a focus, a certain focus, and all these letters have a different balance in these focuses, even so much so that there is a system in it, a system which is also the same system that we use to orientate ourselves into space, into time, and into a time-space context. The way we do that with the certainties and uncertainties and then describe it where it is goes very automatically and by actually quite simple options. Options always of the 1, 2, 3 position, 1, 2, 3 direction, 1, 2, 3 position within in an object. This whole theory is described a lot of times in my videos, but it is also time for a practical example. And the GR words are which start with G and R aren't so difficult after all, and you can more or less generalize what it is there, as long as you understand how much it is related with a kind of descriptive direction of a focus. So let's go to one of the GR words. I can't do too much, otherwise the videos are too long. And I would take grass. But first, go to GR. The G and R can actually describe quite well in a kind of resume, which doesn't say everything, but it says quite well. It's like a quite well description of what is going on there. So you either have these very fixed points, you have directions when they are not so fixed because things are moving, as simple as that, or it is also moving in time and in space to with this kind of behavior that it goes beyond the fixedness of that description. Meaning, for instance, with the G, it goes towards something which is bigger, which means bigger than our ability to focus. We have a focus. Let's say you have a focus of about a certain area, and this goes beyond it. But you can still describe it as, okay, I see here a surface, which is also a word which describes it. It ends with S, so it ends with, at all sides, it's beyond this square. But you can still describe it. You can describe it, it's like I see the surface. I see the grass, it's the same thing. I see grass, it's something almost like, it becomes like a general material, a general focus in general as well. So you have already the S, a little bit the essence of it. But the G also is like I surpass this focus, so it also tells you about what kind of focus that you use, that you go to and use a more general context, a more general perspective, a bigger perspective. It's the G. It goes from the first level, so it's always from space as well. It uses a spatial association. Spatial means, okay, I have a focus into space and I look for something to grasp and to preferably something fixed, but it's not fixed, so it goes to something bigger. It goes beyond our usual scope of what we see in space. It always goes to the general condition of it, space, to something bigger, not describable as measurements in space, because it goes beyond your measuring abilities. And with R, it's simply always about connection, connecting how it works, how you can still sense the behavior and how this behavior connects itself to the reality of its features, let's say. So within this context, you can see and you can connect to it. And of course, with G and R combined, it connects to something bigger. A space also beyond your scope of vision that can still count on it. So here it is described. You have the G, and in the background there's a behavior, and it goes towards something, behavior or a condition or a context. It goes beyond your local or direct scope, and it also brings you not to something which is directly before you, not something which is directly available, but to some available in the sense that you can grasp it completely and go towards all of its conditions within that scope. No, you cannot have it within your scope of reach. And if it goes also beyond that, it goes beyond your scope spatially, especially. Described more usually as this bow, but here it is like, it remains a bit abstract. So where is it connecting to nothing, actually, to the beyond, at the two sides. Also in your feedback process, there's always a feedback process. It's also feedback that it brings you feedback to yourself, also from beyond to beyond. Spatially, it goes beyond your limits also of grasping the complete spatial area. You don't see the beginning of the spatial area, you don't see the end of the spatial area. It's going beyond. So it is described as the beyond contextual spatial area. Grass then, as a word, will also add the letter A. So let's see first where the letter A usually is in my system and in our scope. It's usually before you. You can count on it, or you try to count on it. You start from somewhere in space. There's a point in space, that's where your first reference is. You work towards it, that's your basis. But we didn't start in A, so you can't start from that focus. So you have to lift up that space to a different context, to this, general conditions. So I'll put it already there. A is beyond that. Also has no borders. That's already clear. A itself also is working towards clear borders, but it never has very clear borders. It's learning process. In my system ATK, A is the learning part, T is the first part where you can say, okay, here I see a certain border, a certain reference, and so on. In A, it's like, okay, let's find out what's there. And it moved to a context with its own conditions, as I already said. And how which conditions? I'll describe by the next letter. By the letters. It is where did it start from? From which conditions did it start from? For which condition did I start to associate this spatial reference, this focal focus, this middle focus, this starting point focus? It started with G, so it went further away beyond your scope, but it's also further away as a space. It moves its space, and at the same time it moves to a kind of generalization concept or context, and anyhow it will move to a context. The last category is about that. And in a certain way, because it's the first letter, it's that preconditional starting focus which says I start from space, but I move it to beyond my usual scope. Last letter is then what's the last ending condition? We have the starting condition. What's the ending condition? The ending condition is S, and also that one has open borders. It's the last category, open borders, but it also gets a feedback back quite profoundly in this case. So it has an open borders, and it creates a certain effect also from within. So it receives at the same time an effect. So it has these open borders even more, but it also has an open border. It also has the same features of the whole word in it. Especially with the double S, it will become even more. So here I put the borders, which I could make more vague and vague and vague, so we have more a very good expression of this. It's not necessary to do this, but it gives you more vision. And that's all the borders. You can sense it with a certain openness. Not only that, it's with a double S as well. So the focus at the borders, but also from within, are important, and they are so it means it's also felt innerly. At the same time, it's connected with the making connection. So there are different connections in it. And with G as a starting point, these different connections which are made also go beyond its space. And that's what the grass is. It has all these connections going towards outside its borders and beyond its own space. So you usually has the sense of space in the grass, something general. It also goes beyond it by connecting it and connect to it to getting outside their borders. And you can sense it there as well. So that's the end letter of S. Generally, in the reality, how would you see it? It's not there in the sky, of course. It starts from space, so it actually remains space, but you have three different senses of a spatial reach. You have the A usually starts from something close by, so you can count on your own space, also within your own space. It even has different mathematics. It's almost like you can still keep it within a square, and then suddenly the mathematics change. You have the perspective there. The perspective which goes to a different direction. So the things that are already from another environment, from someone else's environment, from everyone's environment, these are the things that are within reach, but you have to go there. It's even that it's not immediately available within full reach because it's related with G. It goes beyond that space, and it goes also to a context beyond. So it's quite far away. The reality is, quite far away. It goes towards the general focus, so not just close by, not the one which you will reach and you reach it all. No, it is almost beyond reach as what concerns the borders and the full scope of it. Of course, it could start close by, but it doesn't say that. It's also like when you describe it, it goes beyond all that, so that you come at the end in the general focus, also in the contextual focus, not the focus of what I say, this is my space, my personal space, or it's your personal space. That's the second degree. No, the third degree is it's everyone's space, it's everyone's focus, it's everyone's context. That's how you have to see these three levels. So it goes beyond that space, beyond that close by, into a general condition and context, and also has, because of the S, no fixed borders. Where, thanks to R, the connections, which are also included there and which are sensed outwardly, also exist inside. And by doubling it also, you will even sense it even more, and the reality is that kind of description of how the grass from within is also sensed. Yeah, so you have the general sense first. In S you always have these two options that are there at the same time. You have the general sense spreading towards the most outer borders that there can be, to infinity almost. Yeah? And then from within it also goes to wherever that will be. It also reaches outside its usual space, but it's sensed from within as well, almost as a reflection of what the totality of grass is. And that should be enough to have a good description of grass with its letter combinations. I hope you enjoyed this one. You have some books to prepare, you have a website with the previous videos, and you have some Facebook page where you can keep yourself informed. Thanks again for watching. Bye.